Chapter 51. Reorganizing the Divine Team. The atmosphere in the central temple was heavy, as if bracing for an impending storm. Solian stood at the center, the eternal hourglass in his hand casting a soft silver glow, bringing a moment of calm amidst the chaos. "We've faced the darkness, but it's clear the threat is far greater than we imagined," Solian began, his tone grave. "Every step we take from now on must be calculated with precision." Auren nodded, the light from his eternal torch illuminating the chamber. "I agree, but first, we need clearer division of responsibilities to avoid repeating past mistakes."
Ignis, with his fiery red hair, slammed his hand on the stone table. "There's no need for endless discussions. Let me lead a direct assault on Malgrath." "Again with your reckless plans," Zephyra retorted coldly, her wind-touched wings trembling. "We need strategy, not blind action." "Enough." Solian raised his hand, his gaze sweeping over both of them. "Time is not on our side. Focus on the task at hand."
Thalios stepped forward, his deep blue eyes mirroring the vast ocean. "From what I've sensed, the southern seas have become a nexus for dark energy. We can harness the power of the sea to gain an advantage." Solara nodded in agreement, her voice gentle yet firm.
"The sea and nature are intertwined.
If we combine our strengths, our chances of success will increase." However, Ignis raised an eyebrow, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Water may quench fire, but do you think it's strong enough to counter Kaelus's black flames?" "You still fail to understand that every element has its role," Thalios replied, his voice calm but resolute.
Zephyra interjected. "I agree with Thalios,
but we need more information before we act." "Nyxara, what have you sensed near Solara's forest borders?"
Nyxara rose, the shadows around her shifting like a thin veil of smoke. "I've sensed a strong signal near the border between Solara's forest and Umbra's caverns." "Right. It isn't Kaelus's energy. It could be Umbra's or someone else's." Auren frowned, the light in his eyes flickering with suspicion. "If it's Umbra, we need to investigate immediately. It could be preparing for another attack." Solara nodded slightly. "My forest will protect you, but we must act quickly before that energy spreads."
After the meeting, Ignis and Zephyra headed to a vast, open area behind the central temple. Facing each other, the air between them crackled with tension. "You always think wind is just a gentle breeze. Let me show you its real power," Zephyra said, her sharp eyes gleaming. "I'm ready. Remember, my fire never goes out," Ignis replied, the flaming sword in his hand blazing fiercely. Their training began with powerful strikes from both sides. Ignis's fire merged with Zephyra's wind, creating a massive firestorm. But their lack of synchronization caused the storm to spiral out of control, damaging the surrounding area. "We need better coordination," Zephyra shouted, her wings swirling to extinguish the excess flames.
Ignis sighed but looked determined.
"I don't like you, but if this helps us win, I'll do it." In another part of the temple, Elandra sat before the ancient scroll, sweat dripping down her forehead. Nyxara stood behind her, her soft violet eyes observing Elandra's every move.
"You're doing well, but you need more focus," Nyxara said, her voice calm yet encouraging.
"This sealing spell requires absolute precision. Even a small mistake could let the darkness rise." Elandra took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. "I won't let anyone down." The scroll glowed brightly, forming a complex magic circle. Elandra recited the ancient incantation aloud, her voice resonating through the space. As the seal completed, a brilliant light enveloped the room, prompting a rare smile from Nyxara. "You did it. But this is just the first step, kid. Keep practicing," Nyxara said, her gaze filled with trust. As night fell, Solian stood before his eternal hourglass. The sand within didn't flow evenly as usual but swirled chaotically. "Time is being distorted," he murmured, his gaze shimmering with unease. "The demons are exploiting the chaos to grow stronger." Auren approached, the light from his torch dispelling the surrounding shadows.
"What must we do, Solian?" "We need to act immediately," Solian replied, his tone resolute. "But remember, every step must be careful. Even a small mistake could lead to our downfall." "Time is running out," he added, his eyes reflecting urgency. "We must proceed with the plan to attack the seas and the shadow caverns. Darkness will not wait." The gods nodded, each preparing for the upcoming mission with unwavering determination. Chapter 52. Ambush in the Abyss.
Waves crashed against jagged rocks as the gods stood before the vast ocean, where Thalios had detected the presence of darkness. The air carried the tang of salt, mingling with a palpable tension. In the distance, black clouds swirled ominously, heralding an approaching storm. "We've faced countless challenges, but the darkness here feels different," Thalios said, his deep voice tinged with unease. Solara nodded, her gaze sweeping over the silver waves.
"Nature itself is warning us. The currents are unnatural. Something is disturbing this place."
Elandra gripped her ancient scroll tightly, her eyes blazing with determination.
"Whatever it is, we cannot let darkness claim another domain."
Sully stepped forward, raising the eternal hourglass. Its silvery glow illuminated the waters, forming a gateway into the depths of the sea.
"Let us proceed, but tread carefully.
This place is not as it seems." As the group ventured through the undersea gateway, the surroundings grew oppressive. From the shadows, a chilling laugh echoed, sending ripples through the water. "You thought you could invade my domain unchallenged?" Kalalis's menacing voice boomed. A massive black flame erupted, casting an eerie glow. Cassiolus emerged, his colossal form ablaze, each step boiling the surrounding seawater. Ignis charged forward first, his fiery sword blazing brightly. "Cassiolus, I've waited for this day." The two clashed, red flames meeting black in a cataclysmic explosion that shook the ocean.
But Caelus was both powerful and cunning. With a sweeping motion, he conjured spiraling columns of blackfire that ensnared the gods, separating them.
As Caelus intensified his assault, Solara summoned her magic. Giant roots emerged from the seabed, encasing the gods in a green shield to protect them from the scorching heat. "I won't let you harm my comrades," Solara shouted, her eyes blazing with defiance. Caelus sneered, but Solara's armor proved impenetrable, frustrating his efforts. Meanwhile, Zephyra seized the opportunity, conjuring whirlpools to extinguish the spreading blackfire.
"We need to coordinate better,"
Auren commanded, his voice resonating through the turbulent waters. Amid the chaos, Elandra sensed a strange energy emanating from the ocean floor. Following the guidance of her ancient scroll, she dove deeper. She discovered a mysterious seal, inscribed with dark runes. Unrolling her scroll, she chanted ancient incantations. Light burst forth, shattering the seal and revealing a corridor leading to a massive chamber. Inside, a pillar of turquoise light illuminated a mysterious relic suspended mid-air. "This is what we need," Elandra exclaimed. But Caelus appeared, blocking her path. Caelus lunged toward Elandra, but Auren and Ignis intercepted him. Auren wielded his light magic to weaken the blackfire, while Ignis unleashed a powerful attack, forcing Caelus to retreat.
"Don't think this is your victory!"
Caelus roared. "Malgrath is ready. You're merely delaying the inevitable." With that, he vanished in a swirl of black flames, leaving the space eerily silent yet charged with tension.
After Caelus's retreat, the gods entered the relic chamber. On a charred stone wall, they discovered an intricately carved ancient map. The markings glowed faintly golden, pointing to Malgrath's central base. Solian stepped forward, examining the map carefully. "This is the most crucial clue we've found. We're one step closer to the final battle." Auren surveyed the chamber, his eyes resolute. "Prepare yourselves. We have no time to waste." The group exited the undersea gateway, their expressions a mixture of determination and unease. Darkness was spreading, and the ultimate battle was drawing near.
Chapter 53. Umbra's Trap. The air grew colder and heavier as the gods approached the border between Solara's forest and Umbra's dark cavern. The barren trees and ash-covered ground served as a forewarning of the destructive power of darkness.
Nyxara, with her connection to the shadows, led the way.
Her every step was deliberate, her amethyst eyes gleaming in the murky gloom.
"I can feel Umbra's energy ahead. He doesn't want us here."
Zephyra, gliding above with her delicate yet powerful wings, surveyed the area from above.
"He's hiding something. I'll scout the surroundings."
As they ventured deeper into the cavern, the darkness thickened. The walls seemed to shift, forming grotesque shapes that unsettled the mind.
"Be careful.
This isn't just ordinary darkness," Nyxara warned, raising her hand to cast a protective veil of magic. Deeper into the cavern, a dense black mist enveloped the group, pulling them into an alternate dimension. The surroundings blurred,
and familiar scenes from their memories began to materialize. Auren found himself standing atop an old mountain, where he had once failed to protect a small village. The cries of its people echoed, rekindling his pain and helplessness. Alondra was trapped in a dark room, watching as shadows consumed the ancient scroll she held. "You're not strong enough to protect it," a chilling voice taunted, making her shiver. Yuji. Each god was submerged in their deepest fears, their connection to one another severed as the darkness drove wedges of isolation and doubt. Alondra, recalling Nyxara's teachings, focused on her inner light. Clutching the ancient scroll tightly, she began to chant a spell aloud. A faint light emerged in the suffocating darkness, gradually growing stronger. "I won't let the darkness control me," Alondra shouted, her voice echoing as the light pierced the oppressive shadows. Her light helped the others escape the nightmare. Nyxara was the next to awaken, and she immediately used her shadow magic to carve a path out. "Follow me!" Nyxara commanded with unwavering resolve. The group regrouped, combining Alondra's radiant magic and Nyxara's shadow power to navigate out of the illusory space. As the gods broke free from the nightmare, Umbra appeared. His form seemed to merge with the surrounding darkness, and his glowing eyes burned like ghostly torches. You dare trespass in my domain?" Umbra hissed, his voice cold as winter's breath. He began the dance of shadows, summoning spiraling pillars of darkness that encircled the gods, compressing their space. These shadowy columns were not only physically overpowering, but also clouded their minds, distorting their grip on reality. Auren stepped forward, the eternal torch blazing brilliantly in his hand. "Your darkness cannot touch this light!" With a sweeping motion, Auren unleashed Dawn's light, shattering the shadowy pillars and forcing Umbra back. Umbra roared in frustration but refused to concede. "This is far from over. You will pay for your insolence," he snarled, before retreating into the shadows. As Umbra disappeared, the ancient scroll in Alondra's hands began to glow brightly, as if guiding them. New symbols appeared on the pages, pointing toward the depths of the cavern. "There's something hidden here," Alondra said, her determination shining through. Following the scroll's guidance, the group discovered a secret chamber containing an artifact fragment. The fragment emitted a soft violet glow, hinting at its integral role in their fight against Malgrath. However, as Zephyra attempted to retrieve the fragment, a massive door materialized, sealing it away. A deep shadow enveloped the door, impervious to all magical attempts to break it. "This is no ordinary darkness," Nyxara said, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. "Only a balance of light and shadow can unlock it." Auren placed his hand on the door, and the light from the eternal torch began to weaken the shadow. But it wasn't enough. Alondra and Nyxara stepped forward, combining their powers to create a harmonious blend of light and shadow. The door slowly creaked open, revealing the fragment floating in mid-air. Auren carefully retrieved it, feeling the immense power within. "This is the key to defeating Malgrath," he said firmly. As the gods left the cavern, their resolve burned brighter than ever. The fragment was a crucial step forward, but they knew Kaelis and Malgrath still awaited them, shrouded in even greater darkness. "This is only the beginning," Nyxara said, her voice steady but determined. With the artifact fragment in hand, the group marched forward, ready to face the challenges that lay ahead in their fight against the most formidable foes they had ever encountered. Chapter 54. The Secret of Black Fire. The air around the forest near the Palace of Light was heavier than ever. After returning from the shadowy caverns, the gods tried to rest and prepare for the next journey. But Ignis couldn't find peace. The flames surrounding him weakened, and it felt as though an invisible force was draining his power. Standing alone on a cliff, Ignis stared at the molten lava flowing in the distance. Memories of Kaelis and his destructive black flames haunted his mind. Solara approached, her voice soft but filled with concern. "You're not well. You can't continue like this without help." Ignis tightened his grip on his flaming sword. "I can't wait any longer. Kaelis's black fire is weakening me by the hour. If I don't confront him now, I'll become a burden to all of you." "You won't do this alone," Auren said, his eternal torch glowing brightly in the darkness. "We are a team, and every decision must be made carefully." "No. I know," Ignis replied, his tone low and resolute. "But this is my battle. You only need to ensure the rest of the world is safe. I'll deal with Kaelis." Alondra stepped forward, her eyes reflecting determination. "I'll go with you. My sealing magic can temporarily suppress the power of black fire. I can't let you fight alone." After a moment of silence, Ignis nodded.
Fine. But stay safe. Elandra and Ignis set off, trekking across arid hills and navigating streams of lava snaking through the ground. The air grew hotter and heavier as they neared the volcano's summit. Pausing to catch her breath, Elandra looked around at the harsh landscape. This mountain feels alive. Everything here breathes Kaelus's presence. This is his domain. I've been here before in battle but never finished the job, Ignis said, regret tinging his voice. This time will be different. As they drew closer, a massive column of black fire erupted from the volcano's heart, as if Kaelus had been waiting for them. Kaelus stood on a high ledge, his fiery eyes glowing with arrogance. You've come, Ignis. I knew you couldn't resist my call. Enough, Kaelus, Arrogance roared, his flaming sword blazing brighter. Your fire will no longer taint this world. The two clashed, red fire colliding with black in explosive bursts. Each strike shook the mountain, causing lava to spill from cracks in the earth. Kaelus laughed, unleashing a powerful black fire punch. Do you think your weak flames can stand against me? I am the fire of destruction. Ignis was knocked back, but quickly regained his footing, his eyes filled with determination. Ice. My fire is more than strength, it's light, it's hope. As the battle raged, Elandra stood on the edge of the conflict, unrolling the ancient scroll. She chanted aloud, and light from the scroll began to envelop Kaelus, restraining the spread of his black flames. Kaelus roared in pain as his power waned. You have no right to interfere, mortal. This isn't interference, it's responsibility, Elandra shouted, her trembling hands refusing to release the scroll. Her sealing magic gave Ignis the upper hand. He seized the opportunity, delivering powerful blows that forced Kaelus to retreat. As the battle reached its peak, Kaelus suddenly stopped, a sinister smile spreading across his face. Do you think defeating me will change anything? Malgrath has united the power of the demons. He's creating a weapon you cannot oppose. What are you talking about? Ignis demanded, but Kaelus only laughed. Enjoy this small victory. The end is near. Realizing Kaelus could not be allowed to continue, Ignis summoned all his strength. He unleashed the spell Firestorm, creating a massive wave of red fire that engulfed the mountain, forcing Kaelus into the heart of the lava flow. Kaelus screamed in agony as his body was sealed within the volcano. The lava surged but was quickly frozen by the light emanating from Elandra's scroll. After sealing Kaelus, Ignis and Elandra returned to the group. So Caroleon carefully examined the ancient artifact shard and noticed its light pointing toward Auren's Palace of Light. Malgrath doesn't just want to destroy this world, he wants to claim our light, Solian said, his voice heavy with concern. Auren tightened his grip on the eternal torch, his eyes blazing with resolve. If that's where he's heading, we'll get there first. Prepare for the next step. The gods left the volcanic region in silence, their eyes filled with determination. Darkness remained, and Malgrath was closer than ever. Every step they took now was more critical than ever before. Chapter 55. The Unification Plan. The gods returned to Solian's Temple of Time to delve deeper into the relic fragments. In the stillness of the chamber, Solian carefully examined the ancient tome, his eyes fixed on the faintly glowing characters on each page. These fragments are not just separate artifacts, he said, his deep voice laced with urgency. When combined correctly, they can form a powerful barrier to shield us from Malgrath's strength. Solara stood nearby, her hand gently brushing one of the fragments. But how do we combine them? Each fragment carries its own unique power, and if done incorrectly, the consequences could be catastrophic. Solian nodded. I need more time to fully decipher this. But time is a luxury we don't have. Malgrath won't sit idle. As Solian continued his research, Auren gathered the gods to discuss strategy. Malgrath grows stronger by the day. We need to buy Solian more time to complete the unification of the fragments. Zephyra smirked faintly. You're suggesting a diversion, aren't you? Exactly, Auren said, the eternal torch in his hand casting a warm glow across the room. We'll split into two groups, one to stay and defend the Temple of Time, and the other to launch a false attack to draw the demons' attention. Ignis gripped his flaming sword tightly. I'll lead the assault team. If we make it big enough, Malgrath won't be able to ignore us. And I'll stay here, Nyxara said, her voice calm. I can help Elandra learn to balance light and darkness. Something we'll need to activate the barrier. Elandra sat in a quiet corner of the temple, the ancient tome spread out before her. Opposite her stood Nyxara, her pale violet eyes gleaming with seriousness. "Your light magic is strong, but to activate the barrier, you must understand darkness as well," Nyxara said. "Are you willing to delve into the deepest parts of your mind to confront it?" Alondra swallowed hard but didn't waver. "I'm ready." Nyxara extended her hand, enveloping them in a circle of shadows. Alondra felt herself being pulled into another realm, where light and darkness intertwined, creating strange, shifting visions. "You must find balance," Nyxara's voice echoed in the void. "Light cannot exist without darkness, and darkness without light." Alondra focused, feeling both energies within her. Slowly she formed a faint ring of light, intertwined with strands of shadow. "You're doing well," Nyxara said, a small smile forming on her lips. As Alondra continued her training, the atmosphere within the temple abruptly shifted. A powerful wave of energy swept through, suffocating everyone. Auren appeared at the temple's center, his crimson eyes scanning the gods. "I told you, you cannot hide forever in this light." He unleashed a powerful energy blast, shattering part of the temple. Ignis and Zephyra charged forward to confront him, but Voron's immense strength drove them back. "I will not let you unify those fragments," Auren roared, unleashing another devastating attack. Amid the chaos, Solian rose to his feet, his eyes glowing with determination. He raised the eternal hourglass, the sands within flowing in reverse, creating a silvery light that encased Auren. "You do not belong here," Solian declared, his voice echoing through the temple. Auren snarled in fury, but his powers were temporarily sealed by Solian's spell. However, the effort drained Solian's strength, and he collapsed, his eyes closing. Alondra rushed to his side, channeling her light magic to partially heal him. "I can't keep doing this," she cried, tears streaming down her face. "I'll be fine," Solian said weakly. "Finish what you've started." The gods regrouped after the attack. Auren stepped forward, his gaze resolute. "Malgrath won't wait much longer. We must prepare for our greatest battle." Solara stood beside him, her voice calm but firm. "I will summon all the strength of nature to aid you." Though injured, Ignis's determination remained unshaken. "We will not back down. Even if all I have is a single spark, I'll fight to the end." As dawn broke, the gods stood before the Palace of Light, an eerie silence hanging over the air. They knew the final confrontation was near, and everything they had done had led to this moment. In the stillness, light and darkness coalesced, readying themselves for the ultimate clash with Malgrath. Chapter 56. The Battle at the Temple of Light. As dawn broke, the gods stood before the Temple of Light, once a symbol of hope and unity. Now, the early rays of sunlight were obscured by a dense black fog that spread across the sky. Auren, holding the eternal torch, stepped forward. "Malgrath is coming. I can feel his darkness consuming everything." Solara knelt, placing her hands on the ground. "Nature is in pain. The streams around here are drying up, and the trees are withering. We must protect this place." Alondra opened the ancient scroll, the light from its inscriptions illuminating her tense expression. "The scroll reveals that this is where the fragments must be activated. But to do that, we must hold this ground." Zephyra rose into the air, her shimmering wings faintly glowing. "Prepare yourselves. His army is approaching from all three directions." In the distance, a black tide of shadow began to rise. Thousands of grotesque demonic creatures charged forward, led by towering generals of darkness. At the center of the army stood Malgrath, his fiery red eyes exuding a terrifying malevolent power. "Do you think this flicker of light can withstand endless darkness?" Malgrath bellowed, his voice reverberating through the air. Ignis took the front line, his flaming sword blazing fiercely. "You'll never overcome our light, Malgrath!" The first skirmishes erupted as the dark creatures swarmed the temple. Solara summoned massive vines to entangle the enemies, while Zephyra unleashed whirlwinds that swept through their ranks. As the enemy numbers swelled, Ignis and Zephyra decided to combine their powers. Ignis raised his sword, the flames burning brighter and hotter. Zephyra soared higher, her wings spinning to summon a powerful vortex. "Focus, Ignis! If you lose control, your flames will consume us all!" Zephyra shouted. "I know what I'm doing," Ignis replied, his eyes filled with determination. Together, they unleashed a massive firestorm tornado that tore through the shadow army. The demonic creatures shrieked in agony as they were engulfed in the blazing whirlwind. However, Malgrath simply observed, a cold smile on his face. "Do you think this will stop me?" In another corner of the battlefield, Solara placed her hands on the ground and closed her eyes to connect with the power of nature. She summoned a colossal living tree, its branches sweeping through the shadow army like giant arms. "Nature will never bow to darkness," she cried, as the tree radiated a green light that weakened nearby enemies. But Malgrath raised his hand, conjuring a massive orb of darkness that he hurled at the tree. The impact shook the battlefield, causing the tree to tremble. But Solara held her ground, pouring her strength into sustaining the tree's defenses. "We need more time," she shouted, her voice tinged with urgency. At the heart of the battle, Elandra stood with the ancient scroll in hand. The glowing inscriptions radiated powerful light, spreading across the battlefield. "I'll seal you, even if only temporarily," she cried, her voice echoing through the chaos. The spell created a massive circle of light that trapped hundreds of shadow creatures. They howled in agony, but were unable to advance.
"Well done, Elandra," Auren said, though his expression remained cautious. "But be careful, this power will drain you quickly."
Elandra nodded,
sweat streaming down her face, but her resolve did not waver. Seeing his forces being stalled, Malgrath strode forward. "Do you think your light can stop me, Auren?" he sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. Auren stepped up, the eternal torch flaring brilliantly in his hand. "Your darkness exists only because the light has not been strong enough. Today, you'll see the true power of light." The two clashed, light and darkness colliding in dazzling explosions. Malgrath launched powerful attacks, but the light from Auren's torch held firm. In a decisive moment, Auren channeled all his strength into a radiant beam that sent Malgrath reeling. "You will not take this place," Auren declared. Malgrath roared in fury but realized he could not prevail. "I'll return, and next time, your luck will run out," he snarled before vanishing into the shadows.
After the battle, the Temple of Light lay in ruins. Its walls were shattered, and the surrounding landscape was heavily scarred. Auren stood amidst the rubble, his gaze somber as he surveyed the destruction.
"This temple can be rebuilt, but the light we've protected remains intact."
Solian inspected the artifact fragments and nodded. "They are safe. That's what matters most." Elandra, though exhausted, held the ancient scroll tightly. "We won today, but Malgrath won't stop. We must prepare for what's to come." As the remaining rays of sunlight pierced through the lingering shadows, the gods gathered together, bearing the scars of their ordeal. They knew this battle was only the beginning. In the distance, the darkness stirred once more, and they steeled themselves for the greater storm that lay ahead. Chapter 57. The Covenant of Eternal Light. After the devastating battle with Malgrath, Auren's Palace of Light lay in ruins. The stone walls that once shimmered with brilliance were now reduced to crumbled debris. The gods stood amidst the desolation, each bearing wounds both physical and emotional. Auren placed the eternal torch at the center of the palace. Its radiance spread outward, a solemn promise that the light would never extinguish. "We cannot let this place succumb to darkness. This palace is more than a home, it is a symbol of hope," Auren declared firmly.
Solara knelt and touched the ground.
"Nature will aid us. The trees and the earth will unite to restore this place." Vines began to sprout, supporting the shattered remains of the palace. Zephyra ascended into the air, conjuring gentle breezes to sweep away ash and dust. "We need to move quickly. Malgrath won't wait." Elandra stood beside Auren, holding an ancient tome. "I can activate temporary protective spells from the fragments, but for something lasting, we'll need more time." As the gods worked, Solian appeared, his gaze deeper and more solemn than usual. He raised the eternal hourglass, its sands flowing in an irregular rhythm. "I sense a disturbance in the flow of time," Solian said gravely. "Malgrath's attack is only the beginning. He is devising something far greater, something that could fracture our unity."
"What do you think he's planning?" Ignis asked, his grip tightening on the flame blade.
"I'm not certain, but I see signs of division. We must remain vigilant. If we lose our unity, we will fail," Solian replied, his piercing gaze sweeping over each of them. Auren nodded, his voice resolute. "We won't let that happen. Let's focus on fortifying the palace and preparing the fragments." As the group pondered their next steps, Nyxara stepped forward, her violet eyes shining with determination. "We can't do this alone. Perhaps it's time to seek aid from the primal world." Alondra looked startled.
The primal world? But it's just a myth. Does it even exist? I felt a faint connection to it while wielding dark energy. If we can persuade the beings there to assist us, we might gain an edge against Malgrath, Nyxara explained. Auren considered this carefully. It's a dangerous path, but if it can make a difference, I agree. We'll weigh this option once the palace is secure. While the gods continued their work, Solara suddenly paused, her eyes closing as if listening to a distant call. I sense something from the deep forest, a distress signal from ancient creatures. Darkness is encroaching on their territory, Solara said with urgency. Ignis stepped forward. We can't ignore this. If darkness overtakes the deep forest, we'll lose a vital ally. Auren nodded. Solara, you will lead. But be cautious. We cannot afford to lose anyone to the darkness. Quote, as Solara prepared for her mission, Alondra continued her training under Nyxara's guidance. In a quiet space behind the palace, Alondra stood within a magic circle, attempting to harmonize light and darkness. You must learn to embrace the darkness, not fear it, Nyxara instructed, her voice calm yet firm. Only by understanding balance can you wield it. Alondra closed her eyes, feeling the interplay of the two energies within her. Light from the ancient tome merged with tendrils of darkness, forming a soft lavender glow imbued with immense power. I did it! Alondra exclaimed, opening her eyes, which now shone with radiant light. Nyxara smiled faintly. This is only the beginning, but you've made great progress. As the day waned, the gods gathered before the palace. Beneath the soft glow of the eternal torch, they placed their hands on the ancient tome together. We swear that no fragment will fall into the hands of demons again, Auren declared, his voice echoing with determination. One by one they repeated the vow, their eyes burning with resolve. Though darkness loomed, the light within them remained undiminished. Now, as the gods prepared to set out for the deep forest, a gentle breeze carried the scent of earth and greenery. Solara gazed into the distance, where the shadowed trees awaited them. The forest calls. We must go now. Alondra clutched the ancient tome tightly, her eyes steadfast. Darkness will never prevail as long as we stand united. Chapter 58. The Challenge of the Deep Forest. A faint glow emanating from the ancient book in Alondra's hands illuminated the path as the divine group stepped into the dense forest. Towering trees loomed overhead, blocking out the sky and creating an eerie darkness where sunlight barely pierced through the thick canopy. Solara paused, placing her hand on a massive tree trunk. I sense the call of an ancient being, but this place is shrouded in darkness. It's stronger than anywhere we've ventured before. Zephyra's wings fluttered gently, sending a gust of wind through the leaves. Stay alert. This forest is no longer safe. Alondra flipped through the ancient book, searching for further guidance. There's something crucial here. The book says we're close to a fragment, but it's protected by ancient magic. Auren tightened his grip on the eternal torch in his hand. We'll find it, but we must move quickly. Darkness doesn't wait. As the group ventured deeper, the air grew colder. Suddenly, from the suffocating darkness, strange creatures emerged. They resembled wild beasts but were grotesquely twisted by shadow, their eyes glowing red and their fangs razor-sharp. Ignis charged forward, his flaming sword igniting in a blaze. Let's see how long your shadows can withstand this fire. The shadow creatures shrieked and lunged. Zephyra soared upward, summoning whirlwinds to repel them, while Solara conjured massive roots from the earth to ensnare the foes. There are too many of them. We need better coordination, Auren shouted, the light from his torch brightening the area and weakening the creatures. Alondra focused her magic through the ancient book, forming a protective circle of light around the group. I'll hold them off. Move forward quickly. After driving back the shadow creatures, the group pressed further into the forest. They arrived before an enormous tree that stretched toward the heavens, its surface shimmering with soft golden light. Solara knelt before the ancient tree. This is where the ancient being resides. Show respect. A deep, resonant voice echoed from the tree. You have arrived, but darkness spreads, and this fragment cannot fall into unworthy hands. You must face a trial to prove your worth. Alondra stepped forward. We are ready. Show us the trial. A glowing magic circle appeared before the tree, its golden hue shifting to fiery red. Ignis, the darkness threatens to consume your power. You must master the flames within yourself, the ancient being declared. Ignis stepped into the circle, enveloped by intense heat. Inside, the image of Kaelis appeared, accompanied by memories of past failures. "You're not strong enough to defeat me, Ignis," Kaelis sneered, his dark flames roaring. Ignis clenched his fists, his eyes burning with determination. "You no longer control me." Channeling all his strength, Ignis unleashed a radiant blaze of red fire, dispelling Kaelis's dark flames. The magic circle vanished, and the ancient being's voice echoed once more. "You have proven your strength and resolve."
As Ignis completed the trial, a chilling laugh echoed from the shadows. Kaelis emerged, his eyes blazing. "Did you think I'd let you claim the fragment?" He unleashed massive black flames, engulfing the area. The group was forced apart, each fighting to defend themselves against relentless attacks. Solara summoned a living tree to shield her comrades. "Focus on attacking him. I'll keep this place intact." Zephyra soared high, conjuring a powerful tornado to repel Kaelis's dark flames. "You're not as strong as you once were, Kaelis." Kaelis roared in fury, but the combined strength of Solara and Zephyra forced him back. Finally, he retreated into the darkness, leaving behind a menacing threat. "I will return now. Next time, you won't be so fortunate." With Kaelis's retreat, the ancient being reappeared, its form a shimmering silhouette. "You have shown courage and unity. The fragment is yours." The massive tree opened, revealing a radiant fragment glowing with immense power. Alondra took it, feeling the overwhelming energy it contained. We've taken another step forward," Auren said, his voice filled with hope. However, Solara gazed into the depths of the forest, her eyes shadowed with worry. "But the darkness knows we're here. Malgrath won't let this go unchallenged." As the group left the forest, a cold wind swept through, carrying the scent of shadow. Solian stood at the gateway, looking into the distance. "Time is running out. The primal world may be our final hope." Chapter 59. Mysteries of the Primal World. Solian stood before the eternal hourglass, its silver light glowing brilliantly. The primal world is unlike any place we've ever been. It exists beyond the boundaries of time and space, an ancient land filled with secrets and immense power. Auren stepped forward, his eyes reflecting grave determination. "We have no choice. If we can truly gain aid from the ancient entities, it will be our last hope." Raising the hourglass high, Solian chanted a complex incantation. A swirling portal of silver light appeared, revealing a hazy realm within, where glimpses of floating mountains, glowing forests, and rivers of shifting light could be seen. "Follow me," Solian said, leading the group of gods through the portal. Inside the primal world, everything was extraordinary. The ground glowed beneath their feet, and the sky was filled with multicolored streams of light flowing like rivers in reverse. Nyxara gazed around, her amethyst eyes wide with wonder. "This place, it's beyond imagination." Elandra held an ancient book, feeling a subtle vibration emanating from it. "This book seems to be connecting with this realm." Suddenly, a blinding light erupted, and a divine entity appeared. Its form was indistinct, resembling both a towering mountain and a rushing river. "You seek power, but only those deemed worthy shall receive my blessing," the entity declared, its voice resonating like rolling thunder. "You must complete trials to prove your courage and unity." The divine entity raised its hand, creating a space of utter darkness. "Elandra, you are the first. Prove that you can overcome your own fears." Elandra stepped into the darkness, where nothing but an absolute void surrounded her. Malgrath's mocking laughter echoed in her mind. "Do you think you're strong enough to defy me? Your light is but a faint spark in this endless shadow." She closed her eyes, recalling Nyxara's words. "Darkness is powerful only when you fear it, accept it, and light will always find a way to shine." Gradually, a faint glow emerged from Elandra's palm as she opened her eyes, and the light in her hand flared, banishing the darkness. The divine entity nodded. "You have proven your faith and resolve. Next." In the second trial, the group faced a massive shadow entity shaped like a colossal serpent, coiled around a river of light. The serpent attacked with terrifying strength, each strike shaking the very fabric of the space. Solian struggled to create a barrier to protect the group, but the shadow entity was too powerful, shattering every defensive spell. "I will not let anyone be harmed!" Thalios roared, his body radiating intense light.
He channeled all his divine power into the river of light, forcing the shadow entity to retreat. However, the effort left Thalios utterly drained, and he collapsed. "Don't worry about me, keep going," he murmured, his voice weak but his eyes filled with determination. After completing the trials, the divine entity raised its hand, forming a circle of light around the group. "You have proven your courage and unity. This blessing will enhance the power of the fragments you have gathered." The light from the entity infused the fragments, making them shine more brilliantly than ever. Solian held one fragment, feeling the surge of power within it. "With this enhancement, we've taken another step toward preparing to face Malgrath." Alondra bowed to the entity. "Thank you for your assistance. We will not disappoint you." As the group prepared to leave, Solian was suddenly drawn into a prophetic vision. He saw Malgrath, his eyes glowing crimson, standing in a desolate wasteland. Beside him was a massive weapon, shrouded in dark energy. "Your time is running out," Malgrath said, his voice echoing in Solian's mind. "You may see the future, but you cannot change destiny." Solian jolted back to reality, cold sweat running down his face. He turned to the group, his voice filled with urgency. "We don't have much time. Malgrath is preparing for the final battle. We must act immediately." The group left the primal world, carrying their newfound power but also a sense of foreboding. When they returned to the palace, a cold aura of darkness awaited them, as if Malgrath already knew what they had achieved. Auren gripped the torch tightly, his gaze steely with determination. "He may be ready, but so are we."
Welcome to Fantasy Realms. Enjoy the story, and thank you for your support. Chapter 60. The Challenge of Darkness. The air around the Palace of Light grew unnaturally cold. A dense darkness shrouded the sky, and from within it, a deep voice echoed across the expanse. "Do you think light can stand against the endless void of darkness? Come to the heart of my domain, where your fate shall be decided." This was a taunt from Malgrath, brimming with confidence and menace. Alondra clutched the ancient tome tightly, her eyes shining with determination. "He's trying to force us into action prematurely, but we must be fully prepared." Auren stepped forward, holding the eternal torch aloft. Its brilliance flared, defying the encroaching shadows. "We will not let him dictate our actions. Before we make a move, we need a clear strategy." In the grand hall of the palace, the gods gathered. Maps of key regions were spread across the table, with markers indicating Malgrath's strongholds and the lairs of major demons. Auren stood at the center, his gaze stern. "Malgrath does not act alone. He has powerful dark generals and a vast army. We need to split into smaller teams to weaken his forces before facing him directly." Solian nodded. "I'll focus on stabilizing the timeline. If the flow of time distorts further, we won't reach his domain safely." "I'll lead a direct assault team," Ignis declared, the fire in his eyes blazing fiercely. "And I will remain on defense, ensuring this palace isn't attacked again," Zephyra added, her wings fluttering lightly. After the meeting, Nyxara and Alondra continued studying the ancient tome in the palace's research chamber. The book's symbols suddenly glowed brightly, guiding them to an important passage. "Look at this," Nyxara said, pointing to a section of text. "The book states that when combined correctly, the fragments and the tome can create an ultimate sealing weapon, powerful enough to stand against Malgrath." Alondra nodded thoughtfully. "But to achieve this, we need a spell that perfectly balances light and darkness. It's not just a tool, it requires unity among us." Nyxara's eyes reflected her concern. "If we fail, the power could backfire on us. But it's our only chance." Meanwhile, Ignis and Zephyra, frequent opponents in strategy, were tasked by Auren to train together. Initially, their session was fraught with arguments. "You're always too reckless, Ignis. Your flames could destroy everything, even our allies," Zephyra shouted. "And you're too cautious, always scared of the dark," Ignis retorted, his fiery eyes flaring. Their quarrel ended when Auren intervened. "Both of you are strong, but individual strength won't defeat Malgrath. Only harmony can forge a force powerful enough." Gradually, through hours of training, they began to understand how to combine their strengths. Ignis's flames merged with Zephyra's winds, creating a massive firestorm vortex. An attack of overwhelming power but under precise control. As the gods trained and prepared, the sky suddenly turned pitch black. A massive storm of darkness, conjured by demons, loomed on the horizon. Zephyra soared into the sky, attempting to hold the storm at bay. However, the swirling winds and dark magic destroyed significant portions of her wind palace, leaving their defenses weakened.
We must work together to repel them,
Dallas. Ignis shouted, leading a counterattack. The storm raged for hours, but with the combined efforts of Auren's light, Ignis's fire, and Zephyra's wind, the gods finally dispelled the darkness. Still, the damage was severe. Zephyra stood amidst the ruins of her wind palace, sorrow in her eyes but resolve in her heart. This setback won't break our spirit. Palaces can be rebuilt, but darkness must be vanquished.
After restoring some of their strength, the gods gathered at the gate leading to Malgrath's stronghold.
Elandra stood at the forefront, the ancient tome glowing brilliantly in her hands.
This is the decisive moment,
Auren said, his voice resonant. Everything we've done has led to this. We fight not for ourselves but for the light and hope of the world. Each of them nodded, their eyes filled with unwavering determination. The gate opened, revealing a path plunging into an abyss of darkness.
There's no turning back now, Ignis said, his fiery gaze unyielding.
I love.
Then we move forward,
Elandra replied, stepping through the gate first, leading the gods into the heart of darkness. The suffocating shadows closed in, as the gods ventured deeper into Malgrath's stronghold. The light from the ancient tome and the fragments illuminated their way, but it also drew every lurking threat toward them. In the distance, guttural growls echoed, a forewarning of the horrors waiting to extinguish every flicker of hope.